Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, with your host, Bishop Dr. Uton Lang, and co-host, Overseer Franklin Williamson. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, blessings, blessings. It's so wonderful to be with you again on Premier's Turning Point. Of course, I'm Bishop Dr. Uton Lang and with Premier Family Life Ministry. And of course, we have my co-host, which will speak with you a little bit. He'll tell you a little bit about himself, Overseer Williamson. So we really are excited, though, about being with you this week. You know, we're continuing our discussion and, kind of keeping an update on the coronavirus and the vaccine. But we also today want to also just address some general health issues and just what people are doing, in this period of time. So we want everybody to basically, as we have always said, we just want to give out information so that you can better, take care of yourself, both spiritually, physically, mentally, and that you can, have a full life of God as what God has, promised and what God wants to give to you. So we want everybody just to be well updated and all the necessary information, making sure you're doing all the right things and following, of course, as I always said, a healthy diet and such. We'll talk a little bit more about that today. So at this time, Overseer Williamson is just going to tell us what's going on.
All right. Thank you, Bishop Dr. Lang. Greetings to everyone. Thank you again for joining us on Turning Point. Today, we have another excellent lineup for you. We want to talk to you about the virus. I myself got my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine just this morning. And let me add, no side effects, and I'm doing very healthy. Also, I took my dad along with me. So we both now have the second dose, and we are hoping and praying that as the vaccine become more available, that we can dispel all myths and all fears, and want to lead by example as a pastor here in the northeast section of the Bronx. So stay tuned. I will also give you some updates regarding the vaccine and talk about the efficacy and talk about the research. So this way you can really be rest assured that the same science that goes into the flu vaccine and all the other SARS vaccine is the same science that went into creating this Pfizer, COVID-19, Moderna, and now we're hearing that the Johnson & Johnson has opted for an emergency FDA approval. So stay tuned, like, share, tell a friend, join, let's post your questions, and we'll be ready to answer them for you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Wonderful. So remember, Premier's Turning Point is about information, getting you up-to-date information, getting you accurate information so that you, as a child of God or as anybody, can make a really confident, really decision about whatever things that you're going into. So that's what we're about, and we want everybody out there to really be well-equipped, know what's going on so that you can then, survive in this kind of culture that we are in. Now, actually, Overseer, before we go ahead, now, what are some of the negative things you're still hearing?
Well, I'm here. Today I spoke to someone and they say they're so proud that as a pastor I've stepped forward because they're still hearing that this is the 666, that this is still the Lord saying we should not take this. And, I'm trying to help our fellow men and fellow women to understand the same rigorous testing that went into creating all the vaccines. I mean, all the medicine that we rely on, it's the same rigorous testing that went into this COVID-19 vaccine. So if that's true, then everything else that we do should be false. So I'm encouraging our leaders, and that's why we have this program here, Bishop, is to educate, to dispel, to remove the mystery in the minds of the people, make it very clear.
Mhm. Yeah, so
So
yeah, that's a good point,
yeah,
because come back again. Let me just piggyback on that real quick. The important thing is, and I think we've pointed it out before, especially when, of course, now the third vaccine that's coming on that's the same technology that we use with the flu vaccine. All right.
yeah,
So,
yes,
and of course, so that one now we shouldn't hear as much. The mRNA technology is really was being worked on for years since Ebola and all of that stuff. There's been work on. So we know again, and we're just saying it again because some people may have missed it, that this was an opportune time because the technology was already there. But then we had open check. They were just given all the funds that they need that they could rapidly, move and do things that would take years otherwise. So
yeah,
just be rest assured that this is not just a fly by day, pitch by night, as they say, technology, but it's been around, and basically, it was then used, and yes, in a more rapid way because of all of the funding that was now there. So we need to be aware of that as we go forward. You can
yeah,
continue. Hmm.
yeah. All right, so I have some notes here. Let me just go through
Hmm.
that. I want to talk to you
Sure.
about the COVID-19 vaccine and the efficacy. The COVID-19 vaccines, they are effective. It says the vaccine is over 94+% effective, and the vaccine is still the best way to protect ourselves from others. Talk about it being safe. The vaccine has gone through the same rigorous review that all vaccine must follow. And the FDA has approved 2 vaccines, and there's a third one, the Pfizer BioNTech and the Moderna. Next is the trial information. And this is important, right? That's how we are able to determine, or the science is able to determine what percentage. The Pfizer BioNTech vaccine clinical trial, phase 2 and 3, had over 43,000 participants at 152 clinic sites across the globe. Out of the 152 clinic sites, 130 of these sites were in the United States. Now, for the Moderna vaccine, phase 3 clinical trials was about 30,400 participants. And these were done primarily and only in the United States. Want you to rest assured that the vaccines are held to the same rigorous safety and effectiveness standard as all other types of vaccine in the US. Next is another thing we hear about. Can the COVID-19 vaccine give you COVID? Now, as doctor will explain to you, the mRNA vaccine do not use live virus that causes COVID-19. They do not affect or interact with our DNA. Neither does it enter into the nucleus of the cell, which is where the DNA, our genetic material, is kept. The cell is broken down as it gets rid of the mRNA soon after it finishes with the instruction. Next, mRNA, and I'll just touch this, and then I'll let Dr. Lang speak a little bit more about that. It says a couple of facts about the mRNA. That the vaccine have been studied before the flu, before the Zika, before the rabies, and based upon history, in 1989, the research for the mRNA began from 1989. And in 1990, the very first mRNA vaccines were developed. But once they understood the cause of the COVID-19 was known, scientists began designing the mRNA instructions for the cell to build the unique spike in protein into the mRNA vaccine. And then in January 2020, the Chinese scientists published the genetic code of the virus 2019 nCoV. And once that publication was made known, that's when the scientists went to bear, again, having that blank check, having all that resources to their disposal, and were able to collapse the timeline in getting this vaccine out within, I would say, 10 months. Side effects, real quick, as I said today, I got my second. What I did, I got my first dose in my right arm, then my second dose in my left arm. I'm not sure if that made a difference, but I was just want to make sure, the tender and the soreness, that's normal. There are no serious side effects of the vaccine that have been observed in clinical trials. It is normal for your body to have an immune response. So I want to deal with some definitions there. Side effects versus immune response after you've been vaccinated. The immune response is a sign that the vaccine is working and that your body is building up the immune system. Also, I'll close with this. Don't throw away your mask. Now, someone asked me and they text me, so Pastor, I said, no, now nothing. I am still going to use all the tools that the CDC has given to us to combat this COVID-19 vaccine as more becomes available. I'm going to wear my mask properly over my nose and my mouth. I'm going to wash my hands 20 seconds, the Lord's Prayer. I'm going to social distance 6 feet apart and avoid large crowds, especially those who are not from the same household. So I hope those pointers regarding the COVID-19 vaccine help to clear up any doubts in the minds of our listeners.
Yes, very, very good. Very nice overview. And I think hopefully everybody is, really taking specific note. And I'm just gonna kind of, follow that lead and talk about a few of the issues, a little bit more specific, especially the mRNA vaccine. The technology, as I said, has been around, as you heard, as long as 1989. Right, and that's as long as I've been married. So more than I got married in '86, so it's almost the same there. So it's been a while, and people have to understand that science is always kind of evolving and working. You may not hear about it, but they're always working. Even at the advent of this, they're already looking at what strains are out there. They're doing all of that work. They're already testing stuff now against the different strains because they need to know, are we going to come up with a system like the flu shot where we have to get a shot every year? Is it going to be longer? All of that stuff has to be worked out. However, the technology, there's nothing about the technology that affects your DNA. The mRNA is clear about that. There's no entrance into the nucleus of your cell. The particles go in your cell, which then tell the cell what protein to make, and then that's how the system works. And the newer vaccine, the newest one, is going to work a little bit different. It's going to be more similar thing like the flu, where they use an adenovirus, as a transport kind of media to get a very attenuated form into the system, not a live virus still. And none of that is giving you a live virus into your system. So, either technology, you're not getting a live virus into your system. Now, very important, as Pastor Overseer was pointing out, side effects. Side effects is very minimal from this thing. So, in terms of you may get some pain, you get pain from a needle, right? That's a side effect. And really, for the most part, that's the main issue. Yes, you may get some other reaction in your system, but a lot of those are more the body then working against a foreign particle. And therefore, of course, what does the body do? Think about it. Something in your system is going to do it. First of all, if it's trying to come to the respiratory system, the ears and the nose, all of that, the whole part of it work together. Once something get into your system now, then it has to go into, that fighting mode. Of course, you're going to have an increase in your temperature. The body is trying to, to work. You may feel, muscle aches, blood, a lot of things you may feel. And actually, my sister-in-law, who has got her second shot as well, the first shot she had a low-grade fever,
Mm.
and lasts about 24 hours. Take some Tylenol, drink some fluids. The second shot she had a higher fever, which I said,
Right.
great. I was happy. She was like, oh, I have this fever. How do I feel? I'm like, I'm happy with that. So your body system, because you'd expect potentially to get a little bit even worse reaction of the second one if you have a reaction of something to the first. Because of
Right.
course your body has seen some of it, and you now should have some antibodies, and your body should be fighting it. So it makes sense. The whole sequence of things that does happen, and I think that's the thing is, and this is why I'm really, so, taken aback when some of the various news and things that people are out there. I mean, as I was listening to a little bit of the news this week, and basically the group that call themselves anti-vaxxers, they had teamed up with that other right-wing group, and this part of why the January 6th went down is all of
Yeah.
this thing coming together. So
Wow.
one thing we have to do is just to be careful what we listen to, who we listen to, make sure the news is appropriate. I've also heard this quite a few people this week, saying, they were, there's the other thing is, yeah, you also need information because one particular lady this week spoke about the fact that she really never listened to news. So everything she got was from people. And then that's one of the things where some of the right wing group, that's what they use. So they have all these people who don't listen to them, and they also tell them, don't listen to the news because it's fake. So therefore, you had a whole group of people who, so they're not hearing that. So all they're hearing is the one side that says,
Right.
okay, this is bad, that is bad. And so she now is repenting, and to put it in a way of basically being led down the garden path. And now she's, when she now look back, because when, first of all, there was no overturn of the election and all of that stuff, she now looked back and said, well, what were these people really saying? And
Yeah.
what was I believing? And she actually had bought it hook, line, and sinker. She said she had
Wow.
bought into the whole thing and was following it blindly. But now that she looked back, she's sorry. She's, and really, you hear her now. She's looking at the things now. She listens a little bit more general news and get her information. So it goes back to the point that we're making is you want to make sure you're getting the appropriate information, that you're
Right.
hearing the things, and then we are, in this world we're not of the world, but we're in the world. So we're gonna have to know what is going on, in the world,
Absolutely.
so that we can, survive. So, long story around, but to say this, we need to always make sure that we are, listening and we're following, we're, praying, fasting, following the word, and then we're matching it up with what's going on around us so we can make, a very educated decision. And so there's a notion that, there's an issue with the coronavirus vaccine. You see, this is really a far right notion, and people need to just be listening and watching and making sure that they're getting all the appropriate information. Some people are still gonna, and again, as I say to people who are skeptical, I have no
Right.
problems with that. All right. It's fine to ask questions. It's
Yep.
fine to be skeptical about it. It's fine to say, let me look into this before I do this. All fine. However, you got to make sure that you're getting all the information and not like a one-sided type of version where you're going to hear bad, bad, or good, good. You need to listen to both, and then synthesize it. Make sure you know who you can trust. All right. I know I talk a lot, so I'll go ahead and chip in over.
No, you got to be fully rounded. Be fully rounded
Yes.
and information together. Now, I did not a deep research. Just say
Yep.
one.
Mhm.
I had about 2 or 3 members who I know firsthand that they contracted the virus,
Yes.
and they've also received the vaccine, and they complain about side effects,
Mhm.
hot flashes, fevers, and in my research, I'm hearing if you contracted the virus before taking the vaccine, you should wait like 90 days after you test negative. Is there something truthful to that? There's a 90-day wait period before you get the
Well,
vaccine to avoid all of that?
Well,
Uh,
one other thing, think about it this way. Think about it this
yes.
way. If you are exposed now, and your body is now in the fighting mode already, fighting off this vaccine. Believe it or not, the one thing that it may cause, maybe the vaccine won't be as effective, because your body is already in fighting mode. It's busy. Think about it. It's busy, so it really doesn't
Okay.
have time to address, even that extra. So I think it makes sense to wait a little bit. Again, there's not a specific hard and fast date yet, but I think they're coming up with that. How much
Okay.
time you should probably wait, but again, the thing is, they're not clear how much the antibodies that you make from even being exposed is going to be enough to adequately protect you. Now, I have one of our parishioners who actually has had it the second time.
Mm.
All right. Yes. So, and that's the other thing, was now had it the second time. Of course, you see where that's possible because this is a different strain. Is
Right.
this, so it's all of that thing. So no, don't think because you have it, you're safe. And,
Mm.
okay, now I can do whatever I want to do because I now had it. No, because, as you were seeing, and I'll be a little facetious here, but we have the African strain, the Mexican strain, it's same way you have angels from everywhere. You have strain of viruses from everywhere. Um, that, so, and of course the virus is not sitting around. It's kind of like the devil, okay? Is
Yes.
busy seeing what he can do to overturn the people of God. So the virus is not sitting inside, it's okay, they got me now, they got a vaccine, I can rest. No, it's not, well, how do I get around this vaccine? So there's
Right.
mutations and
Yes.
changes that is going on in the viral DNA to make it look different, to be stronger, and all of that. So we have to be aware of that. And to then piggyback on your other point is the mask is essential even after you've been vaccinated. And I think we went over this before, but let me just sum up a few of their
Yes.
reasons.
Sure.
One of the main reasons is, first of all, you're not totally protected till about, you're not even fully protected as much as you're going to be till about 6 weeks after your second shot. That's when you can really say it's more like 3 weeks, but I say 6 weeks. So therefore, over that period of time, you still could be at risk of, coming down with the virus. If you notice, there's been about at least a few and a couple of even the famous people that, like a few days after their second shot actually were exposed and actually did,
Yeah.
develop the virus. All right.
Yeah. That
So
parishioner.
that's number one. Number two, which I also think is a bigger point, which they not have totally worked out yet. But after you've had the vaccine, all right, now say you're exposed, does that say the virus doesn't still grow in your nasal passages? You're not going to be affected. But what about the person then that has not
Mm.
been exposed yet that you're now interacting with? So you
Right.
see what I mean? It's really, you got to think about it that way until we have that 70%
Yeah.
of
Heard.
the population
Yes.
inoculated, vaccinated, and then we have that herd immunity, then I think we can be thinking about not wearing masks. But, until then, and, my heart will go on singing right until then. We're going to keep on doing what we need to do. All right. We're
Yeah.
going to keep on, praying, worshiping God, and we're going to keep on wearing our masks because, it's going to take some time for this all to then work its way. I mean, we definitely saw some good signs this week. And of course, you always have people saying, because the one person last week told me, oh, watch, in about a week, they're going to say the numbers are going down, just to kind of get us. But if they're going down, they're going down. Well, how you mean? If they're going down. So it's funny, like they're prophesying or something. Oh, in about a week, we're going to see them reporting the numbers going down. Well, that's what I expect. So that doesn't, be a negative to me. But people are just so caught up with this. And so what we should be doing, we should be saying, all right, Lord, thank you that the numbers are going down. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can keep
Yep.
vigilant and then, let, time and then this thing just kind of roll along, and then hopefully by this time next year we are singing another tune, and
Yep.
we're everybody's covered. We're still seeing, and I'm listening to the statistics, there's still about 27% they're saying of people who said they're not going to get it. So, but it
Yeah.
did drop. So I'm hopeful because it used to be like 40 something percent. And there's still a high percentage of African Americans who are resistant. So I just said in my thoughts and my prayers this week that we need to really keep talking about this. And that's one of the reasons why this week we kind of came back on the topic and we were kind of going away, but I, came back because I think it is essential that we share this information. We are okay with the skepticism. We're okay with not totally trusting the system because we have been burnt before. All the whole thing with the Tuskegee experiment and all of that stuff, and over the years, so we understand that. However, we do understand that yes, the African Americans are dying at a higher rate.
A higher
All
rate,
right,
yes.
so at a much higher rate, it's almost double. So therefore, as much as we are skeptical and we're concerned, we are also concerned that if we don't start increasing the rate there, that we're going to still see that even though overall you'll see there is a downcline, overall in hospitalization, we're still afraid we're going to see still a ticking up of the deaths among African Americans. So, and people of color. So we're stressing for everybody out there, especially anybody that is hearing us. Call me up personally, talk to overseer. We will share what we know with you. We will
Yes.
give you the best information that we have so that you can make that decision because, we really would not want to see, more of you are being hurt, for whatever the reason why it's so much higher amongst us. So, I know some of the reasons. We have talked about them before as well. Some of it is the access to care, and all
Yeah.
of that stuff. And also one of the, after we finish this point, I want to talk a little bit more about a few more pointers against those people who may have come down with the virus and kind of giving you some pointers when you go to the hospital, how to advocate for yourself. Because we're seeing, I don't know what it is yet, and we'll see it a little bit soon, but I know a few people who have gone and say 50% of the people that I know, they will go, they're a little sick and they'll get the treatment. And then out of 50%, we see where they tell them, oh, you're not so bad, go home. And then in about a week later, these people are back in the hospital very sick. So I wanted to bring up that point a little bit today after we wrap up this part to talk a little bit about that. Because
That's
I think,
important.
I think as in general, as people, and then as African American, you need to advocate for yourself or advocate for your family member, when they get into the system, because the system is not equal. All right. The
Yeah.
system is not equal. I'm quite aware of that. So we want everybody to, so before we talk about that though, any other pointers on this section, Overseer?
Well, I think we have nailed it. There's you did mention about that period of waiting because I do have parishioners who definitely show symptoms. Also, even between the vaccines, so they got the
Yes.
first shot and they became contagion within the period of vaccination, a second dose, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yes.
and even to the point, so. Uh, just be careful. Wear your mask, social distance, and do your best to wash your hands. What I say to the church, see everyone as a potential carrier of this virus. And if you have that in your mind, then you will treat them accordingly. I know humanly we like to greet, hug, and embrace, but we are in a pandemic. We're not out of it yet. And this I am still hurting when I look at churches still operating as if we are pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm hurting. I am hurting. I am hurting because
Mm-hmm.
we don't want the churches to be called a super spreader, right?
Yeah.
We need to be
And some of
doing,
them are.
yes, we need to be, retarding the spread of this virus. And we do have a liberty to come together, liberty to worship, but let's not use our liberty as a point of embarrassment or a point to hurt one another. So
Well,
yeah.
I think the bottom line with that and how I like to put that, again, I will repeat the the scripture and the thing my wife had brought up, that when the dead angel was passing through, they needed to put the blood on their door, but they also needed to stay inside.
Yep.
Okay,
Quarantine. Yes.
and they needed to quarantine because I mean you could have had the blood all over your door. Seemed like now we have the blood of Jesus all over us, right? Okay,
Yep.
so you can correlate it there. However, the Lord has given us a brain and a mind, and He tells us in a through the science, yes, that we need to wear the mask. So if those Israelites did not stay in the house, even
Yep.
though the blood was on the door, they would have been gone as well.
Yep.
Anybody who stepped out. So right
Yep.
now, the same thing. We got the blood of Jesus all over us. We're saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, and running for our lives. But guess what? We need to run with our mask on
Yes.
because it's going to be so important. So we'll be basically, it's almost like somebody's telling you there's a building on fire. All right. It's engulfed. So nobody should really go in, and then you walk right in.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's really the correlate. So we really just want to stress that. I mean, and I know people have various belief that God is able to keep you. Yes, He is. And God is able to keep you, but you're not going to just throw yourself into something and say, okay, Lord, now you do your thing. The
No.
Lord's going to say, well, didn't I tell you to wear a mask?
Absolutely.
Basically. And I think we
Absolutely.
have to be really, be people and act like we are humans and we have a brain and that the Lord has given us and use it wisely as well. So, and the Lord also help those, who help themselves. Faith without works is also death. So I believe that
Yep.
God, and I actually believe with all my heart, and actually that if I come down with the virus, all right, the Lord is able to deliver me that. Okay? So do not think because we say we're a mask that we don't believe God. I think a lot of people is trying to make us look bad as if to say, well, I mean, where's your faith? You know where my faith is? My faith is in the Lord. And the Lord promised to keep me, but the Lord said, listen, He gave us a brain, He gave us knowledge, and if we don't have that knowledge is when we're going to perish. So I
Yep.
think it's really, so I don't feel bad. I know some of our younger Christians may feel a little bit bad and they beat you over your head, but don't worry about this. Just trust God, but wear your mask and let the Lord lead and let the Lord direct through this. Okay?
And
Mhm.
Bishop, another big thing alongside the vaccine is to get yourself tested frequently,
Mhm.
right? Of COVID. Get the COVID test done frequently,
Mhm. Mhm.
especially for the children, especially those who are back in school, right?
Yes.
Because
Mhm.
many of the times they're asymptomatic and they're pretty much bringing it home to the family, and your family members are the ones who are most susceptible to having severe side effects of this virus. So getting the test, and it's no longer a full nose swab; it's a mid nasal swab now. So
Yeah. Mhm.
again, there's a lot of myth out there, about go right to the back of your throat. That was early, but now it's just a mid nose swab, and they're able to detect if you have this COVID-19 virus.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I
and
encourage.
it's a very important point that, especially if you're out and about. I mean, and you're out, getting out of the house, you need to get, tested to be sure that you're clear. Because, same thing again. I mean, I told you I have a household where they all came in, nobody was actually even out and about. 1 out of 4 was positive.
Right.
By the end of the day, even the one person who had tested negative, I'm not feeling so well. 3 days later, that other person is positive. So this thing is around and it's changing. As I
Yes.
said, it's acting, is out there seeking to devour. And so
Yes.
we need to just do our part and stand up, where that's concerned. All right. Now let's switch a little
Right.
bit, and I know we were going to talk a bit some general health, but let me switch
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
one point that I want to make, and I want to make it strongly. And this goes in general as a person, and especially a person of those who are of color. The system is not totally, stacked in your favor. I say this to every patient, however, though, you need to advocate for yourself. And for the family members, if your family member can't advocate for themselves, you need to be there for them. So if you, first of all, when you go to the doctor, especially to the hospital, if you have any concern, you tell them you're not leaving till they address your concerns. All right? They may try to flick you off, but, write it down. And actually, what I tell people to do, take notes. They may not want you to tape them, but if you want to sign to tape them, that's your prerogative. But my point is take notes, who talked to you, who came into your room, who said what, because, once they see that you are, sharp, let's put it that way, you may be treated differently. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
You may be, so I'm just telling that to everybody, so, and actually, I actually have played both roles. I've gone and talked to people and just act like I know nothing, and they treat me so much differently. And that's why I never tell people that I'm a doctor. Even when I go there, those who don't know, never tell anybody. I just go incognito and, see how things transpire. Then I may let you know that I'm a doctor, and then you see a big 180-degree turnaround. So, but basically, you don't have to be a doctor. You just have to show that you know what's going on. So,
Yes.
write things down. Ask questions and ask for names.
Yes.
And then let them make sure to give you names. Most people have on tags anyway, so you be vigilant and write down. Then, based on it, for example, I was telling you, I know the same hospital but different doctor. One patient went there. She was positive for COVID, and so she was having mild symptoms. Went to the hospital. She got the treatment. They didn't admit her, but they said, maybe you have an early pneumonia. They gave her the whole treatment. She was in there for a few hours and then sent her home. She did great. All right.
Yes.
So she got pills. She went home with the steroids, and they gave her the IV treatment while she was there. Now the person goes, same hospital but different doctor. She actually had had COVID once. This is her second time. She goes, and they said, "Well, we think you have pneumonia, just from listening to her, but your pulse ox is really that low, still above in the 90s. So just go home. Nothing, not even nothing, no steroids, no nothing." Our family member was shocked, took her to an urgent center. They do the X-ray and stuff, then they gave her steroids. She calls me, I put her on some antibiotics. 5 days later, she is worse and now is in the hospital.
Wow.
Okay? So what I'm saying is this. There's treatment out there for COVID. If you're COVID positive, even if your symptom is mild, insist that you get treated. All right? Especially if you go to the emergency room. Trust me, actually, some of the outpatient doctors have treated this patient. But so if you're doing that, so if you have positive, you have mild symptoms, and, it's a concern you that you went to the hospital, you need to be treated. There is treatment to kind of, delay and also improve the symptoms. It's not going to cure COVID, but it's going to treat the things. So I was just saying that to say that you need to advocate for yourself and advocate for your family members.
Let me ask, so what if you're positive but no symptoms? Just go back home?
No symptoms is fine to go home. If you have nothing at all and, you're breathing fine, you can run around the block, you can still run your 5 miles a day, then no, because there's a lot of people who don't even know they have it and recover perfectly fine. But I'm saying if you have symptoms enough that you thought you had to go to the hospital, all right, now they should be, there's treatment prescribed that they should be giving to you. All right. And if you don't get it, you can also call me up and I'll call them for you. So, all right, from the hospital, you call me, okay? Because I think, and actually this is why, again, and I remember I was saying the death rate is higher. And,
Yes.
and this is one of the reasons, because
Right.
the care is not the same. What it could be relating to the color of your skin. So you need to be, on the ball. Listen, I have COVID, I have symptoms, and I'm coming to your hospital. I need to be treated. Period.
Yeah.
All right. If they refuse, I said, okay, I will be back with my lawyer. Seriously. And I'm not joking. I mean, it may sound, but I'm serious, because I'm seeing too much people not being treated appropriately because of what color of the skin or whatever other is the reason. I mean, I'm actually going to investigate this particular case, but just in general, people need to know that, you should stand up. And actually, it goes for not just for COVID, for anything
Yeah.
else. I mean, if you go in and you have a serious issue, you think it's serious, and then people just say, nothing is wrong with you, go home. No, push a little bit. Yeah,
You know your body. You know your
yeah,
body. You know
yeah,
your body when it's acting out of norm. Yes,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, it's funny. I tell all my patients, and you know how some of our Caribbean patients are, doctor, you just tell me what to do. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, we're going to do this together. All right. All right. Because you live with yourself 24/7, and I'm
Yes.
seeing you for 15 minutes, half an hour. So who's going to know the person better? You are. So therefore, we have to work this together. And basically, if this happened, you do this. If this is, because the thing is, was what I explained to people. Each person is an individual, and
Yep.
you may be having a heart attack, and you just say, "Oh, I have a little indigestion." I may be having a heart attack, and I have this excruciating pain. Everybody's different,
Yep.
so you have to know when something is different in your system. I mean, because I would say that's why I said to people, I tend not to ask, "Do you have pain or do you have this?" I said, "What is going on today? How do you feel
Yeah.
today? Yeah, what are
Open-ended.
your issues today?"
Yeah.
Open-ended questions, and actually, if you go into a physician office specifically, and they just say, "Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this?" No, no, no. Walk out seriously, because they really have their agenda. This is my issues that I'm concerned about, and if you have them, I'll deal with them. If you don't have them, I have no deal with them. But what are your concerns? So when you go, and I
Yes.
tell patients to do, and I know this is kind of branching into a general talk, I tell
Yes.
patients to actually write a list or write everything down before you leave home, maybe even the day before. These are the things I need to talk to the doctor about, especially when you're going for your general physical. You want
Right.
to bring everything up. If you sneezed 2 years ago, you want to tell them. If you need to, because it's about you. It's about what your concerns about, what issues you're experiencing, anything that has changed. That's what your visit should be about. I mean, and if and that's this is one of the reasons why actually I have switched how I practice a little bit, because I want to be able to spend time with each person. This
Wow.
is where we go, because if you go to the doctor and they just farm you out in 5 minutes, do this, this, they didn't get taken care of, because you didn't really get to express what are the issues that you're concerned about and that you're facing. So that's one
Yep.
of the things. So advocate for yourself. Make sure you write stuff down so you don't forget. Because it's funny, one patient go, every time I come to you, I'm fine. And I'm like, okay, so tell me about when you're not here. So because every time you're walking here, you're fine. So well, what is happening? The other times. What is going on a daily basis? Because that's your life. This is just
Right.
15 minutes, 20 minutes in a doctor's office, but the rest of your life is all the rest of the time. So it's very important that we're working on this and doing this. Go ahead, oversee any issues or questions on any of that you'd like to bring up.
Well, as you mentioned, quality of life, and I
Yes.
noticed that most people have put on additional weight during this COVID time. I'm not sure if it's because of staycation, we're not going anywhere, or we're enjoying comfort food, or because we have other habits we picked up. But can you talk about that? And they don't seem to notice it, right? They don't seem to notice it.
Well, part of the reason they also don't notice it, remember now, everybody's home, like even they may have a shirt on up top, but the bottoms is PJs. And it's like, it's like loose clothing, right? So you're not going to actually even notice that there's actually a change till you probably get on some clothes and go out somewhere. And they're like, oh my God, this is tight, this is that. So that's
Try
one
that.
of the reasons I think.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is one of the reasons why it's kind of not noticed, because you're there in action and people are looking at you on Zoom. They're like, oh, is it just a Zoom, or did this person, so you can always tell people, oh, it's just a Zoom, so I didn't even get that ounce. So you can even tell yourself that, oh, it's a Zoom, they're pulled, but the pictures are blown up. So for whatever reason, we don't know, but you have to think about it this way. You're right. It's especially those people who who had active jobs, who were
Hmm.
walking a lot at work, who were, I mean, because even myself, I mean, I've tried to keep up, but I used to probably do 10,000 steps easy in a day, running back and forth in the office. And, I'm probably doing much, much less than that. So the activity level is less. So therefore, you're actually burning less calories. So now you have to say, okay, if I'm burning less, I actually should be eating less
Yeah.
calories unless I
Yeah.
can find a way to, rev up my system and burn those calories. So I think it's more like it's all a lifestyle thing. So you have to put it all together. So if I'm less active, I'm not doing anything, maybe I should be, cutting my high calorie foods a little bit, to match it up. Or, if you have a treadmill at home, you have space at home, and you go and you're still doing your exercise, that is going to keep you pretty active. So you have to remember, as I tell everybody, the whole healthy lifestyle and weight thing is calories in versus calories out.
Yep.
All right, so you can really wrap it up in that. So if somebody tell me, I eat like crazy, I eat 10 cakes a day. Well, if you're burning it up, you can go right ahead. Okay, but if you're not, you're gonna find that calories in are gonna be way up here and calories out is gonna be down here, and the in between is weight gain. All right. And so, for example, what's that swimmer's name? The guy with flippers for feet, Michael Phelps. If you see
Michael.
the amount of calories he eats for a day, especially when he's training, it would blow your mind. He probably eats enough for 10 people, but
Wow.
he's training hours a day, and so he probably even gain an ounce. So, and that's what I keep telling everybody. So, look at your lifestyle. You don't have to go on a diet, but what you have to do is to have a healthy diet and eat, healthy. If you're really active, you may have to have some more calories, and you'll know because if you're being active and not having an adequate calories, you're going to lose weight, and you'll actually notice that. But it's really, and I try to teach general lifestyle change is the best way to do everything that you're doing. So what you want to do is to make sure you do a little bit of research, know what is a balanced, healthy diet, and stick to that. You also don't want to, unless you're fasting, to seek your closeness with the Lord, like we've been doing
Yep.
the last month. Then you
Yep.
should eat your 3 meals a day and probably 2 small snacks. You need the more times a day you eat, it's gonna keep your metabolism more revved up. So one thing I tell people that you may want to do is instead of eating like all this big breakfast, you eat a half of it, and then in a couple of hours later, you eat the other half. So the same amount, you're just going to be spreading it out, and you could do the same thing for lunch. You could do the same thing for dinner as well. Or you eat, your nice balanced meals, and in between a small healthy snack, to
Right.
keep the calories down. And remember, you want to make sure you're doing a little bit of protein in every meal, even in your snacks. You have to figure out a way to get some protein in there because if you're eating just carbs, first of all, it just gets souped up by the system, and it's gonna blood sugar goes up, everything goes off. Protein delays the absorption and delays the digestion of the whole thing, make your body works a little bit harder, to get that digested, and then so doing. But the frequent eating also will increase your metabolic rate, and your body will just be like churning. So the body, because basically the body's gonna say, man, this person eat constantly, so I gotta get rid of it. So I gotta burn it. Versus the person who eats, the body goes, man, I don't know when this person gonna eat again. So therefore, anything that comes in, not an ounce is going out. So therefore, I have to slow down my metabolic rate, and I have to then, conserve as much as I can. So I'm not burning a thing. So
That sounds
therefore,
that sounds like oxymoron. That's what folks say. Well, Pastor, I don't eat much.
yeah. And actually, I brought that up because there's a lot of people who come to my office and said, there's no way I can gain weight. I'm eating 1 meal a day. I'm like, well, that's a problem. You're eating 1 meal a day, all right? And believe it or not, however many calories you eat in that meal, every calorie is kept.
Mm.
Versus if I'm eating 3 meals a day, I may have burned, just from eating that frequently, my body said, hey, I got to rev it up, and I probably burn a half. So you see how it's really the mindset and just the whole thing. So if, I know people, there's a big thing now, this intermittent fasting, which I don't have a problem with, but, it shouldn't be prolonged long term. If you
Right.
look at any of the documentaries, and you see kids all over the world starving, what is the one thing you notice? A very large protruding abdomen. There may be
Yes.
skin and bones
Right. But
when you get no muscle. But guess what? The body has actually broken down the muscle and store it as fat
mm,
to try to conserve. So even you're not eating that one meal a day, you're probably, if you check your body percent fat, over time it'll be much higher than mine, who eats 3 meals a day.
mm,
So so you have to just understand that, eat regularly, eat balance. Remember now, the Caribbean way of eating, where the full plate is rice, it's not the way to eat. I mean, I used to do that too. Rice is so good, but
yes,
you
it's
gradually
filling.
cut down. So your starch should only be a quarter of the plate, and then a quarter in your protein, and then the other half should be vegetables. And of course, if you don't have any sugar issue, fruits and vegetables. That's kind of the way to think about it, a good general way, to conceptualize it and make sure that you're following all of the right things. And of course, you want to add exercise to that, because exercise is going to also increase your metabolic rate. It also gets you more relaxed, and the natural endorphins that are released, that is going to get rid of some of your stress levels and relax the mind, and help a lot of other things. So I think so. Remember, we'll talk more about this in future programs, and we may even get
Yes.
some guests on talking about that. Because remember, we're all about information. We want to
Right.
give you the spiritual, but we need to give you the natural as well, so that
Amen.
the whole man can flourish. And so we want everybody to really focus on that. So while we're in this pandemic, while we're in the middle of this, don't forget, you have time to bake. Well, you got to start looking at what you're baking. Or if you're baking and giving it away, that may be different than if you're baking it, all for yourself. You may have more time to cook. So this is a good time to, mix and match and look at learn even a little bit more about the
Yes.
foods that you're cooking. So you have a little bit more time, do that, so that you'll be sure that, you have a balanced approach, and, everything is, going on in a balanced way. So that is really very, very important. And we want everybody to really be on the same wavelength and learning and understanding. And then make sure you feel free to send us any questions that you have. We want
Yes.
people to engage us. Anytime you have questions, just send them in. We're more than happy to touch them. And I'm one of those who don't shy away from any questions. So if you have them, just ask them, and we'll be more than willing to answer them for you. So we want everybody to be on the good wavelength. So remember, just in summary, we're going to give you a few minutes for last words, Overseer, and then I'll come back and just wrap it up.
Right. Yes. Just want to, thank you all for tuning in. We are proud of ourselves in bringing you important information, and we're about the whole man, your body, your soul, and your spirit. And we have really been spending some time on this COVID-19 and also the vaccine. And because of this pandemic, it has impacted many, many, many facets of our lives. I look at the children in the classroom, and many are home, and this fear. And even after we have, inoculated 70% and there is herd immunity, I think there will still be some fear. There'll be a residual of people who are still fearful. Even today with the churches, very low fraction are coming out. And if they do come out, they're very apprehensive in their worship. But we just want to pray. We want to trust God as we go forward. He has not given us the spirit again to fear, but a spirit of love, power, and of a sound mind. So we're going to make the right decisions with our right mind. So continue to tune in, continue to engage us with your questions. Our responsibility is to ensure that you are well informed and well equipped as you go forth. God bless you. God bless you.
Yeah, and I think you touched on one thing that I just want to throw a little bit on
Yes.
before we go, is the children. They're definitely seeing a big effect on the children and their overall education. And
Yes.
I am concerned about that, especially there's also children who do not have the access to the internet and all that. So I think we definitely, as a country, has to do something about getting the children back in school. And I know, there is a lot of, some of the teachers union are apprehensive. All of that is it. But I think together we can do this. And I want to just throw that out there, parents, and the teachers, get together, see what is the best way that we can do this. Get together with your governmental agencies. But I think we have to come up with a plan, because one of the things I noticed, and I have a grandson who's doing this virtual stuff. Some of them don't want to go on the camera. Some of them are sleeping, because you think they're on there. All kinds of stuff is going on, and I don't think that adequate educational value is being passed on. I really think so. I've been looking at it. I've been looking at the studies. I've been looking at both sides, and I'm seeing. And this is not and I don't want to make this political. This is more for the best interest of the children. What is it that we should be doing? I think if we're stressing the mask and even double masking, whatever we can, and I think, even from all the studies, the level in the school, among the children actually been quite low, but even when the bigger population is higher. So there's something that we can do. That just give me that instruction. So I think we should pray about that as well, to see if the system can come up with a way to get these kids, because it's going to be hard to catch up. It's going to be very hard, and we're going to have almost a generation that is a year behind, 2 years at the rate that we're going. So I think, and then what I also want to stress with the parents, be involved. Know that you don't just lock them in a room and say, all right, you're in school, and do that. Make sure they're being supervised. Make sure you're making sure that they're on and they have their cameras on, and I think I'm one of those who think, if you're not on camera, you should be counted as absent. But that's just my feeling. It's my personal feeling, so I'm just letting you know that it's not a law, but, maybe I'm a little militant in my other life. But I think, if you're not on camera, you're not at school. It's why those who, you have the camera, so why don't use it? Maybe we should give it to somebody who doesn't have one, so, but I think, we have to come up with the system. So, church family, other families, talk to your children. Make sure, they're engaged. Make sure they're following up with the teachers, that the lesson plan is being accomplished. And so we can, really, get a move on this whole thing. All right. So God bless you today. We thank you for joining. We really appreciate you joining with us. Keep sending in your questions. Feel free if there's any particular topic that you want us to address. Just get that information to us, and we'll definitely address it. We're going to do our best to keep this very, really conversational and active, so that everybody can enjoy. So I see one of my good buddies down in Florida is on today, Mr. Bill Carr. Give a shout out to you. And also not one of my closer buddies, Marie Holt, Pauline Heaves. Let's see who else. Well, Jesse's on all the time, but also one of my nephews, Orlando Brown, is on. One of our longtime friends. So people are on all over the place. And we thank you, Janet Bailey, A.L. Long. That person, I don't know who you are, so I will have to hook up, all right? And then, of course, our regular family members, church members. We want information to be out there to you, and that's what we're about. So God bless you. Have a wonderful week. God bless you. Bless you, overseer, and we'll talk soon. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
Turning Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first-time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.